You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYBC.
WCYTV.
Here on the Daily Signal.
Good morning. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. The United States and Israel have launched a coordinated strike against the Iranian regime, the IRGC specifically. There are several who have been confirmed, reported dead, and who are at this point suspected to be dead on the Iranian side. The United States, Israel launching a large-scale air and missile campaign on Iran, hitting targets in the capital city of Tehran, multiple cities across the country, with early strikes reported near the Supreme Leader's compound. The President of the United States took to the cameras in the middle hours of the night to issue this statement on Operation Epic Fury to the United States.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
Now, right off the top of the bat, the statement by the President of the United States is true, because he's going to be getting a lot of flack from the isolationists, and then a lot of those on the left, a lot of horseshoe politics going on in the United States and abroad, suggesting that Iran has never done nothing to nobody, as though history started yesterday, February 27th. This isn't the case. The president is not an individual who has ever believed this in any way, shape, or form. There are especially a large crew of libertarians claiming that, again, Iran never doing nothing, and we should just sit here in the United States on our hands and knees, because if we ever do anything, then we have to, by the rules of war, launch a multifaceted 10-year ground campaign inside the country. So right now, the initial reports indicate that this remains an air campaign. Now, we'll get back to the president's statement here. He has a couple of other key points to make. And then I want to talk about the retaliatory strikes from Iran, the extent of what we know about some of these strikes so far, and then, of course, what we expect to see in whether Khamenei, the supreme leader, is dead or alive. And that is in the middle of being ascertained right now. Quite literally, as it was put to me, we're waiting to see the dust settle in this particular instance.
Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
I told you last night on the show, I said you had Vice President of the United States, you had Donald Trump himself, you had various senators using the term for 47 years. Presidents have essentially danced pussyfooted around this issue. They've played patty cake with Iran and suggested that, well, we don't, want to get to it. And Trump has brought in, through this administration, on domestic policy, on foreign policy, the entire essence of this Trump administration is, I'm done with it. The entire essence of this administration, I'm done with it. We're done with it. We're not putting up with it anymore. I don't care if he's in Venezuela. I don't care if he's in Iran. Absolutely not. So that said, again, the president setting up the case, as was made. Again, I told you yesterday when Secretary Marco Rubio got in front of the country And no, not the judge from California here. The statement from Marco Rubio. When he said Iran was to be designated a state sponsor of wrongful detention, in which the Iranian regime has, and yes, to this minute at 10:40 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, February 28th, still has, as we believe, American citizens prisoner in Iran, that it is essentially making it clear that there is a cause for attack morally and legally from the United States. There are a lot of individuals right now on social media that are claiming that because Operation Midnight Hammer happened, that Trump got up and said, all right, we're never doing anything else. Because we smashed Fordo and Isfahan, everything's fine. And that's not what happened. That is not what happened. Historically, by the data, by the video. But the president is making that case directly in this address to the country.
From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon.
Now, I'll let him say it again.
Say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon.
Now, this again has a lot of people very, very up in the gusterflumps. They were upset. They said, but I thought we bombed Fordo and Isfahan. I thought we eliminated their nuclear program. No, that is not what was said. We obliterated those particular underground sites where they were enriching the uranium. The Iranians then said, we are enriching the uranium. The Iranians then said that they are going to get out in front of everyone and they're going to continue enriching uranium for weapons. And when the United States said, just at least tell us, at least give us the Obama era promise, your little pinky promise and fingers crossed behind your back, you're not going to seek a nuclear weapon. And they said, no. And the United States said, okay, well, are you at least going to de-escalate militarily? And they put in an expedited, as quick as you can get it here, super duper AliExpress, Amazon over midnight order for as many hypersonic ballistic missiles as China can fit into a crate that says lamps and totally not missiles on the side. And so the Trump administration said, okay, if you are going to FA, if you have been hit and you have realized that it hurts to get hit, and then you continue to act foolishly anyway, if you are going to not just FA, but you are going to FAA, you're going to FA again. Not satisfied with one shenan, you choose to shenan again. The United States will respond in kind.
That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas.
Now, again, a lot of people hear that, our friends and allies, and they think, oh, Israel, oh, Bibi Netanyahu is playing puppet master, whatever. I will remind you of two quick, very important points in this instance that are not from United States right-wing Zionist sources, or whatever you want to call them. The Israeli government begged the United States, this broken by Al Jazeera, folks, notably not pro-Israel media. Al Jazeera broke that the United States was begged by the Israeli government when they wanted to strike, when Trump wanted to strike during the protests a couple of weeks ago, he said, "Don't do it. Don't shoot people. I'll kill you." And Netanyahu said, "We're not ready. Please don't. We don't have any of the missile defenses set up yet. We're not set to receive what will largely be like a last gasp retaliatory effort, all missiles all the time at everyone from Iran as a last gasp of losing power." And so the president acceded. He said, "Okay." And then allowed Israel, the United States, Jordan, the UAE, even parts of Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain to build up and prepare. Now, we're going to get to why that's a little interesting in a second, because Keir Starmer wants to have both sides at the same time. He wants to have his cake and eat it after sunset because, fasting and Ramadan too. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway.
And could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world.
Now, by the way, you were told, and I was told, that Iran was going to come out with these super duper hypersonic, ultra skibbity clean macro speed racer, ultra doomsday device missiles that were going to obliterate the entire United States Navy. I mean, just gone, just completely erased from existence. And it turns out, no, the United States has not had that issue. Now, there is one missile so far that we know of that struck an empty warehouse of the United States. One of them, one particular missile that struck an empty warehouse in the United States base. And I want to make sure I get this right here. I believe in Bahrain. And we do have some of the footage from that. But in the process of striking a bunch of random places in response, and I do mean random places, Iran appears to just be taking whatever guy can go out with the semi-trailer, sending them out and saying, all right, launch as many that you can wherever you can. So far, they have succeeded in misfiring and blowing up a school. They're now claiming the United States or Israel struck it and 85 dead, that kind of stuff. But so far, one of the only major places that they have been able to hit that is a U.S. military target is in Bahrain, and it was an empty warehouse. They have struck a civilian airport. They have struck multiple civilian targets randomly, basically just pointing and shooting in the United Arab Emirates and in Qatar, which is a wild and stupid move because now you actually have Qatar, which is coming out saying, yeah, I hope Trump gets rid of the Ayatollah. Wild balance of power shifting in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia as well. The age of kind of thumbing your nose and saying, well, we really like the Islamic Brotherhood and things. Well, that kind of stuff. That era appears to be coming to a pretty succinct close. Now, right now there are, and I'm going to come back to the president on this in a couple of minutes. Right now, there are conflicting reports as to whether the president of Iran and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei are alive or dead. And the reason that I bring this up, this particular discordance in the reporting, is that we don't know. The dust has not settled. Now, the foreign minister of Iran is running around to anyone who will listen and is saying, I promise, I pinky promise, as far as I know, he's alive, he's well, he's fine, that kind of a thing. We don't know. This is the Iranian claim, just for what it's worth, just so that you can hear him make these particular claims.
Actually, I appreciate your comments there, and we do have a series of other questions I want to ask you. But just for clarity for our audience right now, can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know, yes, they are alive. and the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well. All high-ranking officials are alive, and the Secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.
Okay, I'm going to level with you just right here real quick before we get back to the statement from the President of the United States. He did okay for about the first sentence of that statement. About the first sentence of that statement. That is a man who recognizes he is looking at the noose at the end of the Nuremberg trials. He started out, he's like, oh yes, as far as I know, the president and the supreme leader are alive. And also a bread maker, a pumpkin shaper, a man at the bank, a man at my gas station, the head of the judiciary, his second cousin, her wife, their goat. Everything is fine. We're doing great here. Actually, sunny skies, partly cloudy, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe you dirty Americans use. I mean, okay, sure. Okie dokes. Until you got to the end and it was like, everything is fine. Like the burning beam falls down in the background. Okay, sure. Again, that's their claim. The most accurate on the he's still alive side right now, just to be clear, the most accurate claim so far seems to be that at least either the president or the Ayatollah has been injured. And they have now claimed he was going to address the world 51 minutes ago. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. Politicians are late to things. Leaders are late to things. There's a big address planned. Hey, we're going to come out. He might still come out and say, I'm fine. It's wonderful and it's amazing. I hope that if he is dead, they try to do it through AI. And about halfway through, it starts singing the Burger King song, Have It Your Way. You know, like he's like, we're deaf to America and Whopper, Whopper, Whopper. Come on. It'd be kind of funny. I'm just saying, if it can happen, it often does. So anyway, to the president's address.
And attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future.
Okay, what the president said there, very quickly, let's pick it apart. So, what you are hearing from a lot of very grumpy people. So, Congressional quitter Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's usually licking her own elbows at this time of morning. From Thomas Massie, who is usually working with Ro Khanna to invite actual co-predators of Epstein to the State of the Union. What you're hearing from a lot of people, and from the libertarians, many of them principled, and I'll even argue well-meaning. Brad Palumbo, a friend of mine who is libertarian, often we disagree on things, but he tries to stick to principle, are saying, why are we doing this? This is going to be just like Iraq and Afghanistan, permanent, or Americans are going to die. Okay, let's break that down. In foreign policy, there is no solution ever in which you can confidently and firmly say, no one on my side is ever going to die, ever. There is no one. The administrations of the world, for time, eternity, ad nauseum, have been attempting to find out, from Neville Chamberlain to Barack Obama to Winston Churchill to FDR, from Abraham Lincoln through to President Trump, have been trying desperately to figure out how, on Earth, if at all possible, to effectuate any kind of foreign and domestic policy that keeps your people 100% from being killed. It does not exist. It has never existed. All you have are opportunities as a leader, as an elected representative of a republic, to say, I decide that based on the trust of my people, this is the way to make sure the least number of people die. And this is where we actually get into discussion of politics. I'm not telling you this is something that you don't know. What I'm trying to do is summarize this, because people are going to say, oh, here's President Trump sending people to die. We have covered over the last couple of weeks the United States trying to make it as much as possible a chance to seek after the fabled, barely missed the mark plan of the Gulf War. Can the United States carry out a foreign policy move in which we say, foreign leader who is doing awful things, who we don't like, who is causing the deaths of Americans, who is undermining us on the world stage, here is a middle finger from the bald eagle. Can we do that via an air campaign? So far, in the Iranian situation, the answer appears to be yes. We don't know for sure yet, though. This is the grand experiment being played by President Trump. And so far, the Iranians, instead of delivering supersonic, pinpoint, right there, incredible missile strikes like you've never seen before, so far what we're seeing is even in Qatar, in Doha, missiles are being intercepted. So with the president right now making his particular claims on the Iranian situation in the Middle East, also over in Jerusalem, live on Fox News Report, missiles being intercepted.
Griff, air raid sirens are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Stay with me here. Can you grab my vest? Just stay with us, Griff.
He's there in Tel Aviv as he puts on his protective wear, the flak jacket there. Sirens are ringing across Tel Aviv. Sirens have rung across Jerusalem. Iran clearly is retaliating. We have seen Israelis going to the bomb shelters. And Trey, a frightening moment there.
Yeah, right now, this is a defining moment. Israeli cities are under attack. And again, we can report to you at this hour, a senior Israeli official tells Fox News that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted in these strikes. The Israelis looking to decapitate Iranian leadership to, as how some described in the planning process, cut the head of the snake.
So the claim that the Israelis are making in some Israeli media is that Khamenei is dead. That's the claim. That's the argument that's being made. There are some Iranian missiles which are getting through. For example, in Dubai, that would be in the United Arab Emirates, the casualties are unknown, but also the Iranian strikes aren't hitting particular military targets. So the Iranians now are just throwing missiles out anywhere that they can, and this is really going to screw them over. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Again, the rest of the president's statement here, about 2 minutes left of his argument as to why this is necessary. He's saying there are endless dead ahead in this particular conflict, or if we do this effectively right here, right now, and it's carried out with the same finesse that Operation Midnight Hammer, Operation Shove Maduro into a Reagan-era drug van, and Operation Fishing Boat Go Boom, well, not fishing, but you know what I'm saying, and then here in Iran, if we're able to effectuate these with the same amount of lethal precision that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was put into power to effectuate, well, then it's worth doing. It's worth doing this. If, God forbid, only 2, 3, a few casualties who are, again, not ever the seeking point of any conflict, if that is the sacrifice that the president suggests is necessary to undertake the risk of in order to prevent hundreds and thousands dead, as we have seen the Iranians attempt and succeed at doing in the past, then that might in fact be a worthwhile foreign policy risk to take, because all foreign policy is a risk to take. That's the argument. Whether you agree with it or not, that is the argument being made here by the President of the United States.
It is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
President from the United States. Now, we're going to get into some of the international stuff in a minute. However, a statement from an IDF official over to a CNN analyst, Barak Ravid. He's the global affairs correspondent also for Axios. He's also the Washington correspondent for Israel's Channel 12. A lot of stuff on that particular site. He said, according to an IDF official, quote, 3 sites where gatherings of the Iranian regime were taking place were struck simultaneously, and several senior figures essential to the management of the campaign and the regime's governance were eliminated. I'm going to level with you right here, right now. That is exactly how the Iranian government operates. They have never, ever, ever figured out the, what I like to call my favorite dodgeball move. My favorite dodgeball move. I loved as a teacher watching students discover this. Whereas if one person lobs the ball up in the air so that the person on the other side goes, oh, wow, this is going to be an easy catch, and takes their eye off of the opponent and looks up at the ball floating in the air, then the guy who is either shortstop or pitcher on the baseball team rockets a second dodgeball and smacks the person looking dead up at the ceiling. A classic move. This is something the Iranians have never, ever, 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 ever in their military capacity learned. There is an arrogance that comes with honor culture, where you believe that Allah will protect me while I look away. And guess what? No. As Napoleon famously said, God is on the side with the most artillery. As great American generals have observed, God expects you in combat to do all that you can to do so effectively, and he'll take care of the rest. Taking your eyes off the ball and gathering arrogantly your little leaders in packed schoolrooms and saying, all right, glad everyone's here. First on the back, and then the explosions. Iranians have never learned that the United States and Israel are aware they do this. Every time. We saw this with Hezbollah, we saw this with Gaza, we saw this, oh good Lord, with numerous African countries and civil wars. We've seen this in Eastern European conflicts in the 90s. Don't do this. Now, I mean, you know, that's not exactly advice that's important. We also referenced earlier that in Iran's essentially flailing strikes, and these are flailing strikes, one of their missiles, which did make it through the United Arab Emirates missile defenses, not a place that was heavily defended in this instance, I should say. The UAE didn't expect Iran to start launching missiles at them. Here's the moment that we can see right after a missile has struck. Now, that doesn't look like a military installation to me. Does it look like one to you? That looks like some kind of hotel or residential structure that they struck the lobby of outside. So, congratulations on hitting Mr. Mosby's office from the sweet life of Zach and Cody in the UAE. Well done, Iran. That's some premium military prowess right there. Impressive. Just as this continues to escalate, it is important to understand that as a lot of missiles are flying, Tehran being bombed at a distance, for example, this particular clip being shared around a lot today, there are 2 kinds of targets. There are precise military targets, and then there are flailing targets that are just thrown devil may care where they land. Right now, from what we have seen, the United States, Israel, and now some of the responses that might be expected from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, and then from the UAE, from Kuwait, from Bahrain, perhaps, from Jordan, maybe from Iraq, not from Turkey because, they kind of sucking up a storm, not from Pakistan and Afghanistan, for example. But yeah, the Palm Hotel in Dubai is the answer to that. So it was a hotel. Thank you very much, producer Daniel. Right now, when you look at the two kinds of discriminate and indiscriminate strikes occurring, whoever is making the most precise discriminate attacks is who's winning. That's who's winning. All of these claims that, oh, well, if we just cross our fingers and hate the United States hard enough, or we hate Israel and hard enough, then everything's going to be fine. After all, the Iranians are very, very smart and intelligent. They are striking their own allies. I want to make that clear one more time here. They are striking their own pseudo friends and allies who have funneled diplomatic favors for them in the past. One of these is, of course, Qatar. 4 hours ago, statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar. Qatar strongly condemns the targeting of its territory and sisterly states and affirms its right to respond to the United States, to Israel, no, to Iran. Quote, the state of Qatar expresses its strong condemnation of the targeting of Qatari territory with Iranian ballistic missiles, considering it a flagrant violation of its national sovereignty, a direct infringement on its security and territorial integrity, and an unacceptable escalation that threatens the security and stability of the region. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs affirms that the state of Qatar reserves its full right to respond to this attack in accordance with the provisions of international law and in a manner proportionate to the nature of aggression, in defense of its sovereignty and in protection of its security and national interests. I'm going to level with you guys real quick here for a second. Now that Iran's leadership is being decapitated, again, we are still waiting for any kind of a confirmation, a firm confirmation in Operation Epic Fury, if the president of Iran, which they just had to replace, and then Ayatollah Supreme Leader Khamenei, the GOAT leader, if he is alive or dead, we do not know. There is no confirmation yet. Israel, Channel 12, has reported that both of them have been killed. The Iranian foreign minister says, as far as I know, they're alive. Iran said, he's going to address the country at 10 a.m. Eastern, and it's 11:07 Eastern at the moment from my camera, at least. We don't know yet. The dust is waiting to settle. However, throwing a bunch of missiles indiscriminately at your former pseudo friends who are at least willing to kind of tell the United States to hang off, no longer. The same from Saudi Arabia, by the way. The Saudis released a similar statement. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia condemns and denounces in the strongest terms the blatant Iranian aggression and the flagrant violation of the sovereignty of the UAE, the Kingdom of Bahrain, the state of Qatar, the state of Kuwait, and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The kingdom affirms its full solidarity with and unwavering support for the brotherly countries, and its readiness to place all its capabilities at their disposal in support of any measures they may undertake. It also warns of the grave consequences resulting from the continued violation of state sovereignty and the principles of international law. Now, this is where we bring in the rest of the world. First of all, rather ironic, and I'm talking Alanis Morissette wedding day ironic, that the Middle Eastern, quote-unquote, soft Sunni Muslim countries are the first to denounce Iran, and that the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, it took them until about 30 minutes before we went on the air to come out and talk about this. You will remember that the little tiny island, Diego Garcia, the kind of place that Gilligan's Island might have been called, Diego Garcia, between Iran and India, and then south about 3,500 miles, that particular location, which was being considered as a refueling spot for US B-2 bombers, the United Kingdom said, no, you bloody Yanks can't have that. No. Well, now Keir Starmer has come out singing a sort of different tune, and I say a sort of different tune here because the United Kingdom has decided in this instance that they're going to try to thread the needle. Why? Well, because there's a lot of angry Muslims in London who are way more in favor of Iran than they are of, for example, Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Jordan or Lebanon or Iraq. And the Afghanis and the Pakistanis, they're busy. I mean, they're busy in their own war. But anyway, Keir Starmer making his particular address this morning.
Earlier this morning, the United States and Israel struck targets in Iran. Iran has since launched indiscriminate strikes across the region. I know the British people and communities across our country will be deeply concerned about what this means for security and stability and for the fate of innocent people across the region, which for so many of us includes friends and family members. So whilst the situation is evolving very quickly, I want to set out our response. The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes.
Oh, there it is. And the last part of his statement, he kind of stops reading the teleprompter and goes, "Oh my gosh, they're hanging me. My teleprompter crew is hanging me by my bangers and mash. Oh no, I better say something." Right now, he's like, "I want to be clear. We had nothing to do with this. This is like the goober accounts on X, on other social media platforms. The hyper isolationists who are like, guys, if Iran is listening, I didn't do it. Please don't hurt me. I've been listening to Al Tucker say we're all going to die for weeks, and then he laughs. Please." Yeah, that kind of whimpered cuck behavior. That's what this is. We had nothing to do with it. We've sat over here and allowed migrants to take over our country. And also, I advocated for James Bond to be played by a lesbian woman. As Keir Starmer, my first and foremost priority is to bend over whenever we engage in diplomacy. Also, our crumpets are very, very tasteless. Thank you. And that's the first part of his statement. And you can actually see his eyes. They leave the teleprompter when he realizes he's essentially sending the Labour Party, which even now, the Labour parties around the world, the left-leaning parties are recognizing, the winds be a-changing. The Donroe Doctrine seems to have teeth, and all we brought was Greta Thunberg and some yelling about diversity. Keir Starmer's eyes leave the teleprompter. You can actually see his visage change, and then he kind of comes to some more common sense. They're going to hang me if I don't say something different.
But we have long been clear. The regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent.
There it is.
They have murdered thousands of their own people, brutally crushed dissent, and sought to destabilize the region. Even in the United Kingdom, the Iranian regime poses a direct threat to dissidents and to the Jewish community. Over the last year alone, they have backed more than 20 potentially lethal attacks on UK soil. So it is clear they must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. That remains the primary aim of the United Kingdom and our allies.
All right, so then he starts shifting into a more normal speaking pattern. He's kind of found the footing of the fence that he wishes to walk. An interesting move, for sure. But, however, to address kind of the broader international concerns, what we are seeing from governments all around the world is essentially, oh boy, gee, wow, the time has come. Now, it is now daytime in Tehran. There is still smoke rising. There is complete and utter air superiority and naval superiority that the United States, Israel, and now its Middle Eastern allies who are of the Islamic Sunni Brotherhood are enjoying. And to be clear, this appears to be an effectuating of the Abrahamic Accords in just real time, which is wild to see on a foreign policy side. So as a recap to those who are just now joining us here on the Tony Kinnett cast right now, Israeli media is reporting, at least from the Channel 12 perspective, that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has been assassinated in the US-led joint strikes against Iran. However, Iranian officials say they plan to air a speech by Khamenei. They've now changed their tune. Originally, again, about an hour and 14, well, I should say about 2.5 hours ago, they said at 10 a.m. Eastern, he's going to come forward and deliver a live address. which is an interesting move because the last time they did something like that, the lady giving a live address found a missile exploding her studio in the middle of her address. So perhaps not. But then they said, now, okay, we said he was going to go live at 10 a.m. That time has passed. Now we're going to air a video. So we don't know if this is going to be pre-recorded or live. Now, I said earlier, oh, how interesting it would be if they chose to go AI and they upload the video just as quick as they can without watching it. And in the middle of his AI address, the visage of Khamenei starts singing Whopper, Whopper, Junior Whopper from Burger King, because AI is wont to do that every once in a while. Again, we'll have to see. The varying reports right now as we cover this situation. The varying information right now so far seems to be that the nations of the world are condemning Iran for killing a lot of people, upwards of 30, 35, 40,000 of their protesters. The Trump administration has encouraged Iran to shelter in place. Trump has encouraged the people of, the eastern portions of Kurdistan and then Persia to shelter in place. And then at the signal, take control of the government. The United States and Israel are striking Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps areas, forces, places of that nature. The rest of the world has condemned Iran for retaliating by firing missiles anywhere and everywhere as fast as they can. And again, this seems to be, at least right now, this seems to be one of the main moves. Iran has just launched another series of missiles towards Israel, towards Jordan, and perhaps towards Qatar. They're gonna keep this up until Saudi Arabia starts flying sorties over southern Iran, which is going to be a truly strange decision. One missile falling from the air in Doha, Qatar. Now, it's really hard to see on the vertical. We'll try to zoom this in here a little bit. You can see this little black speck. That is a missile which is just falling through the air in free fall. Because it didn't strike its target. The vaunted missile arsenal of Iran appears to be made out of the same cheap Chinese crap that, the entire Chinese arsenal is made of. It turns out, guys, I know, this is going to shock you. It turns out the country that can't modernize to become a global power in any way other than exporting terror and oil, and then the country that lays concrete without rebar, that being China, who releases video of its proud people building a hotel in just a couple of days. Yeah, because there's no rebar in the concrete, and so it disintegrates like Thanos snapped his fingers after the first heavy rain. It turns out those countries really bad at building military technology, which is probably why they steal so much of the United States military technology. As the comments are pointing out, Timu missiles. Austin, NG, Strictly, Norton, yeah, correct. Now, some are suggesting that there are potentially electromagnetic pulses that are being deployed, that there are countermeasures that are being deployed. I can't talk in detail about some of the countermeasures that are being deployed. Electromagnetic pulses, though, no. Electromagnetic pulses are not being deployed at the present time. And do you know how we know? Because the definitely not EMP-proofed alert and warning sirens, those particular sirens are still going up to and including in the areas over where those things are launched. And unless we have figured out how to create micro pulses, which we haven't, I'm just going to level with you, that create a small bubble in midair atmospherically, again, stopping a ray of something, a pulse of something to stop based on some sort of friction midair and not hit the ground, we have not figured out how to do that. Not a thing. We can do all kinds of cool things with lasers and pulses. Just ask one of the Border Patrol drones over Texas that someone in Fort Hancock stupidly shot down because we let one of the privates play with the LSAD, and he decided to play kitty toy and downed what appears to be an MQ-9 used by U.S. Border Patrol. And the $34 million waste because someone let the Zoomer play with a LSAD. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Back to the situation here in the this particular information in the strikes. I do need to be clear. Right now, we do not have confirmation. We do not have direct confirmation that Khamenei and the most recent rotated in turnstile president of Iran is dead. We don't have confirmation whether he is alive. A lot of different sides are claiming, I know, shocker, different things. The dust is not settled. And if Khamenei is alive, his best chance at survival is covering himself in wet mud like in the Terminator, crawling underground with a couple of Chili Mac MREs and hiding there as long as he can. Because unlike the Gulf War, the United States now has things, the Israelis now have things to determine if you're goofing around above ground for too long, you're not going to be with us for very long. This video released by the IDF showing a couple of guys getting ready to go up to kind of a low boy semi-trailer situation thing. You can see right here, one of their ballistic missiles they're trying to prepare to launch. It's in western Iran. That's closer to the border of Iraq. Now, that footage, boys and girls, that's from a drone. Now, I do know this particular footage is not from an MQ Reaper drone. This would be a little something different. It's also not the right kind of footage for it to be a global Hawk drone either. There is a chance this kind of footage would come from an RQ-7, which is about the size, at least lengthwise, of a refrigerator. If that helps you out any. And they're usually launched hydraulically. I guess you can take them off from the ground, but that's a little annoying. If you're talented enough, you can throw it over your head like a soccer ball being thrown in and launch it. Well, don't ask me how I know that. But an RQ-7 could be recording this footage, and then a different drone can fire and take this out. But you can see these two are trying to launch this particular missile. They don't last very long. Again, they ran out of caves. The footage gets very gray and very dusty. By the way, a lot of cameras over in it pointing at Iran right now, they look like this. If you zoom out a little bit, that's because that grid square has been eliminated. So this is the game of cat and mouse that is being played. That is also why, one of the reasons why, a lot of these missile strikes are being fired indiscriminately. You've got a couple of seconds out there before some U.S. operator or some private military contracting agency sees you on camera and then says, hey, look at that guy. See how I see him? I don't want to. And then guess what? They meet their 72 virgins. Probably. That's what they're told. So that appears to be the situation right now. Now, again, I say this in jest because this is my style, my hyper-sarcastic style. It is a serious situation because when indiscriminate missiles are fired, people do end up getting killed. And the incompetence of the Iranian regime has resulted in at least one report so far of what they claim to be 85 dead in a school in Iran, next to, as Islamic sources outside of Iran are reporting, that also are trying to have eyes on. You're starting to see Iranian media sources inside Iran betraying the regime. Because like Joe Biden in that first debate, it's over. And so the Iranians right now, in firing indiscriminately, they can't even get their own missiles, some of them off the ground or to engage in secondary rockets. So the primary burst and then the secondary burst, which kicks in. So those rockets end up, if the secondary mechanisms don't kick in, they get their secondary propulsion because you didn't fuel them with enough propane. Then it turns out they might fall and hit things, like a school, supposedly, where Iran is now claiming 85 were killed, which is a horrible and terrible situation. Okay. Now, individuals like Candace Owens are now reporting no one should enlist in the military. So again, all of the influencer and the grifter class is now suggesting that the totally voluntary military of the United States, that you shouldn't go and join it. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret as someone who just this morning had a fun phone call and then a quick Zoom call with a couple of friends of mine who are on base in the Middle East. And yes, taking appropriate shelter and on station for missile defense. They are thrilled right now. And I mean thrilled. Absolutely and accurately thrilled that they are finally putting it to who has slaughtered U.S. Marines, who have kneecapped U.S. troops, who have handed the gun and the explosive to those who have attacked U.S. troops in the region. They're tired of it. They're tired of playing this game where we sit there and we build a cheap chain link fence around a raging bull, And then every once in a while, the bull knocks down the fence and kills people, those that we like, those that are us. And then we choose, well, let's just rebuild the chain link fence. That era is coming to a pretty direct close. Now, again, there are people like Milo Yiannopoulos, for example, who 7 hours ago tweeted in Arabic, "Oh Allah, preserve Ayatollah Khamenei. Oh Allah, indeed we place you in their throats and we seek refuge from you in their evil." If anyone claiming to be a Christian tweets anything like that, I would like to see them horsewhipped. Anyone. If you are a Jewish individual and you tweet something like this, you deserve to be horsewhipped. How about no? How about no? I will remind y'all that the people who rose up in protest in Iran against the Ayatollah, a lot of those, of the 30,000 killed, 40,000 killed, were moderate and Sunni and some Shia Muslims. So aside from the cowardly simping of armchair style grifters who get out there and whenever the United States goes up against anyone, they say, "Oh, we're really bad and awful. I'm so sorry." How about no? How about the Americans are the international law? How about we'll do what we darn well please? How about we will effectuate our decisions on the world? Because you know what? After World War II, we rebuilt it with the Marshall Plan. The United States rebuilt the entire world. And the Soviets sat there and watched as then Nixon saved China from certain doom and disaster. And so even the secondary world economy that claims to be away, BRICS as it's called, is also built off of the United States. The United States is preeminent, predominant, manifest destiny, Pax Americana, suck it, cry about it. No. I simply do not care. I do not care. I will take a quick moment here to enjoy one of the comments said, "You're armchairing right now." The joke's on you. This chair I'm in doesn't have any arms. I'm sorry. I enjoy that. You can't laugh at yourself as you know, someone sharing this particular news. What can you do? Now, there are a couple of other updates that we are prepared to give you, at least in the context of these particular incidents. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who I guarantee you did not write his own statement here. He hadn't said it on camera. It'd take him 3.5 years to say it, given his William Shatner and Obama speaking style. He says, quote, "Donald Trump failed to seek congressional authorization prior to striking Iran." Oh, so we're going to be illiterate and stupid here. All right, quote, "Instead, the president's decision to abandon diplomacy and launch a massive military attack has left American troops vulnerable to Iran's retaliatory actions," end quote. Okay, a couple of things there. First of all, he says Donald Trump failed to seek congressional authorization prior to striking Iran. Correct, because according to the War Powers Resolution, he doesn't have to. Try to keep up. Very basic U.S. law. Upheld in precedent, upheld in federal court, upheld in the Supreme Court, upheld by multiple administrations. I do not remember Hakeem Jeffries saying boo when Barack Obama was drone striking weddings in Syria. I didn't hear none of that. So first of all, how about no? Number two, he said to abandon diplomacy and launch a massive military attack. Okay, so the whole point of diplomacy is that you are saying, here are the cards we are holding, here are the cards you are holding. Diplomacy only continues as long as both sides say, I will place down a card and you will place down a card. As soon as one party walks away from the table and says no, and the other side holding the card says, okay, well then we're going to do something about it. That's it. The diplomacy is ended. This weird pseudo-neoliberal idea that we can all just sit here around the campfire and talk out our feelings, that only works if both parties are invested and dedicated to the talk. When a party gets up and walks away, guess what? They've chosen, to quote the NFL, Iran has elected to receive. Well, what? The United States doesn't have a right to demand things from other countries? Says who? Says who? Says that country? Oh, okay. Interesting. So again, interesting situations. The UAE, Indian passengers have now been stranded at airports in the UAE. According to posts from the Indian embassy, the embassy and consulate are in touch with the United Arab Emirates authorities and airlines for taking care of Indian passengers stranded at airports due to the precautionary airspace closure. Again, we have additional information showing Al Khamenei's residence is currently rather crater-esque. Rubio is currently with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. U.S. citizens are still currently considered stuck in Dubai, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Israel as missiles fall. Now, to be clear, all of those individuals, save those in, I believe, Dubai and in Kuwait, were advised to get out of the country as quickly as possible. In the Dubai strike, again, the missile fired wantonly, just carelessly from the Iranians that struck outside the Palm Hotel in Dubai in the UAE. 4 are injured, according to Al Jazeera. No casualties yet. The strikes on U.S. installations so far that struck an empty warehouse in Doha, Qatar, I believe. Or no, excuse me, not Doha, Qatar. In Bahrain. That's where the U.S. Fifth Fleet is. Only an empty warehouse. No injuries reported, no casualties reported from the United States as of yet. So far, it appears that the Iranians have been unable to fire anything specifically that has landed at a discriminate target other than Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. I repeat, so far, the counterstrikes from the Iranian regime have only been able to fire indiscriminately. In other words, hit targets various around the Middle East. Missiles fired at Jordan, at Iraq, at the United Arab Emirates, at Qatar. One report maybe at Azerbaijan. Various targets around the Middle East. Also maybe one being intercepted over Saudi Arabia. Indiscriminate targets. In other words, they fired them from the hip, spray, pray, hope it hits something. The only targets that they essentially were able to fire at and aim directly at what they were aiming for and hit, if they had landed, appear to be Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Which, big shocker because they always have things that are pointed there. We now have a list so far, according to Reuters, of the list of cities that Iran, the list of cities in Iran that have been struck by the United States and Israel. Tabriz and Urmia in northern Iran. On the western border against Iraq, Kermanshah, Ilam, and Dezful. In the Persian Gulf, Karg Island and Bushehr. So a fond to the Iranian Navy, all of that was left. Also on the southern coast, Manab and Shabahar. And I know Shabahar, so that is, I'm sure their rowboat fleet is enjoying their promotion to submarine. So a huge congratulations to them. Exciting stuff. Shiraz in southern central Iran, Isfahan in central Iran, Kham, Tehran in northern central Iran. A lot of strikes. Oh, gee. Interesting stuff. Interesting update here on the Tony Kinnett Cast. You will recall, Iran made the decision a couple of months ago to formally leave the International Atomic Agency. I repeat, a couple of months ago, you will remember that Iran said, no one can touch us. We don't need any nuclear oversight. We're going to go our own way. Quick, play Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac, all right? We're going to leave the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iran has, as of this morning, formally requested an urgent special session of the IAEA's Board of Governors. That's a letter from its mission in Vienna. So the Iranian mission in Austria has now said the strikes constituted a flagrant violation of the UN Charter, the IAEA statute, and international law protecting safeguarded nuclear facilities. The letter said the attacks followed months of threats from senior US and Israel officials against Iran's nuclear program. I'm sorry, folks, that's hilarious. That right there is truly cute. You chose to throw your toys down, kick over the stroller, and stomp away. Trump begged. Trump sent the kindest, sweetest negotiators. He sent Witkoff, who was willing to give you everything, a sweetheart deal. that was criticized for being like the Obama era deal. And you turned it down and you walked away from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Now all of a sudden you want the United States to intervene. Interesting. Interesting stuff indeed. Now I'm getting an alert from a let's say a different source here, that there are now 2 sorties from Saudi Arabia in the air. We do not know if this is a patrol sortie, and I'll be willing to say this. Contacts that I have based in the Middle East, specifically in Saudi Arabia and in the Persian Gulf, have confirmed 2 sorties are currently in the air being tracked over Saudi Arabia. Not known whether these are flying towards Iran, whether these are patrol flights, whether they are enforcing a closed airspace. We do not know this at the moment. So I just want to make that clear. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Iran does have planes, or excuse me, the Saudi Arabians do have planes in the air. Iran does not have planes in the air. Iran does not have any planes left. It's unknown at this point if any of their F-14s and their F-4s survived. I very much doubt it. Very, very, very much doubt it. Not a Phantom or a Tomcat left, which is a huge loss, by the way. Those planes should be in museums. There has not been any additional information. I repeat, there is not any additional information that suggests whether or not the Iranians have made any further plans to announce the Ayatollah speaking before Iran. I'm going to very quickly pivot over to some of our additional information that we have coming in here on the Tony Kinnett Cast. Thank you guys for joining us, by the way, as we carry out this live coverage of the campaign in Iran. Again, a lot of claims that are being made by increasingly fewer individuals that this means we're going to invade Iran. I will remind you that, by the way, there have been absolutely no divisions that we are aware of infantry or armor that have been sent over to the Middle East at all, in any, again, outside of normal rotations. There's been none of that. None of that at all. So far, what we continue to receive footage of are military strikes, drone strikes, essentially. Oh, here's a particular clip of the United States and Israel blowing up the office of the supreme leader in Iran. Boy, don't they sound terrified and angry? Or do they sound like the people of Iran, the people of Persia, and Eastern Kurdistan are very, very happy and overjoyed? As the President of the United States said in his statement, and I also would like to echo from some of the comments who say this very accurately and acutely, it will be the people of Iran who take back their country and who carry out this revolution. Trump has already said that in his statement. At the very end of his statement, he made it very clear. In fact, I'm going to find that particular clip and pull that section of it up again. A short time ago,
turn to face certain death. So lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand.
This is the president, again, reiterating his call that he made earlier, get out in the streets, help is on the way. A couple of weeks ago, the Israeli government asked the president not to move then. Again, that is confirmed by sources outside of Israel who are not friendly to Israel. That right now, the president is making it clear who is going to be doing the legwork and the footwork to retake their country. It's the people of Persia. That is the claim being made by the president of the United States right here. He is making it clear.
Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach.
Does that sound as though we are about to go put a bunch of boots on the ground? It says, now's your chance. This is it. We'll back you from the air. Go forward. Essentially, this is a very bizarre, yet, I mean, quite an incredible rectification of the Bay of Pigs invasion. Right here, what you are witnessing is Donald Trump putting we've talked about the Vietnam syndrome or the Iraq syndrome, the idea that Americans believed that we couldn't do anything anymore after the Vietnam War, we were impotent, and then we wiped away in the Gulf War, and then the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and their horrible mismanagement and their nonsensical hampering of U.S. troops and the nation-building diplomatic garbage. That Iraq syndrome setting in. Every war is Iraq and Afghanistan. That's what you've been told. World War III, we're all going to die. That kind of nonsense. No, the president making it clear, you want to do this, you go out and do it yourself. We'll hold down the air and the Navy, and we'll strike some things. Shelter in place for now, during the initial campaign, and then this is your only chance for generations. That doesn't sound like the United States throwing in a couple of divisions of infantry and armor to me. Now, we do have a couple of other things here. Air defense interceptions in the skies over Bahrain earlier this evening. Again, given their times ahead of us, we are now getting into the evening hours. So this particular clip of Bahrain intercepting indiscriminate strikes, or missile launches, I should say. They're not striking very well, from Iran. Those are not THAAD missile battery interceptions. That's not what those look like. That's a different system. Very nicely intercepted, though. Beautiful. Also, we do have some reactions filtering out from the people in Iran at the Trump administration and the Netanyahu's administration movement in this. Gosh, they look so angry and terrified, don't they? The head coverings have been thrown off. You know, making it clear. Now, the French foreign minister has just suggested that the United Nations Security Council will hold an emergency session to discuss the situation in Iran and the Middle East at 10 p.m. Paris time at France's request. Ah, yes, of course. Emmanuel Macron, yeah, convene the UN. Oh, great. What are they going to tell us? How they stood by and did nothing with the last 856 conflicts they've observed? Excellent. Excellent stuff. Really, really enjoying it. Really, really, really enjoying all of this particular information. All right, we are standing by for a statement. I believe News Nation's correspondents are reporting a statement from Carolyn Levitt. I'm going to work on getting that particular clip so we can air that here. Some of the Iranian missile strikes are, again, falling short and finding their way to... Yes, they are finding their way to Jordan and southern Lebanon, which is just... the Iranians are going to end up hitting Hezbollah harder than Israel did. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff going on. To make this effectively clear, that we have so far no confirmation still. I repeat, no confirmation still that the Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead or alive. Again, Iranian individuals are continuing to assert he is alive. And we have information from Carolyn Levitt now. The Israeli, some media is still reporting that he has been killed. There's just not confirmation that we have. We do have from News Nation, our friends over there, Carolyn Levitt, confirming Secretary Rubio and the Gang of Eight being notified. Here, we'll play that clip.
We just heard from White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt on X, and I wanted to read this. She just put out a post saying that President Trump monitored the situation overnight at Mar-a-Lago alongside members of his national security team. She also confirmed that President Trump spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, which we do have a photo of, if we can bring up, from Netanyahu's office as he spoke with President Trump this morning. Now, prior to the attacks, and this is what a State Department official has told me as well, Secretary Rubio called all members of the Gang of Eight to provide congressional notification. He was able to reach and brief 7 of the 8 members. She adds that the president and his national security team will continue to closely monitor the situation throughout the day. And we've also been texting with Caroline, asking to see whether or not we will hear from President Trump again today. We know that we saw his speech in the early morning hours.
All right, now the rest is just, no offense to her, the rest is just correspondent padding. You do that. You go on and you say a couple of things everyone already knows to kind of close off your report when there's not very much else to report. So we have an update now to the Financial Times suggesting that insurers are canceling policies for ships in the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. Again, remember, the Straits of Hormuz are going to be where the real fun begins. The Straits of Hormuz is the last chance of the Iranian Navy of any sort to prevent essentially a large chunk of foreign trade. By the way, this directly affects you. The Straits of Hormuz, that directly affects you. That affects everything from certain forms of energy prices to shipping and transportation costs, including goods that you buy, even if you try to buy made in American. A lot of the parts, certain things that are shipped, certain kinds of lubricants that are really only able to be created in certain quantities and ratios, I should say, of any ease out of that particular kind of the world, or that particular area of the world. Because again, different kinds of crude oil deposits are good for different things. Venezuelan crude oil deposits, for example, are very, very different than certain crude oil deposits found in eastern or western Kentucky or in Texas. There's kind of different names for them. I don't necessarily have time for full explanation of whether you're trying to make asphalt or unleaded gasoline or certain industrial lubricants. That does directly affect individuals. Now, to make this clear, because we did receive a question from one of the live stream comments, Live Animal 080, asks why there's radio silence about Hormuz everywhere. No status update. Is something serious there? The answer to your question is that very likely this evening, the United States is just going to go through and clear it. If there is one area, and I'm going to make this clear, if there is one area that the United States might set up a military presence and simply declare the United States claims this particular county-sized region, and I mean like a Midwestern region per se, in that instance, the United States really should do kind of a Straits of Gibraltar kind of thing that the United Kingdom has done. Set up a little zone and say, this is ours. We're just going to control the Straits of Hormuz, like the Panama Canal. And you say, what right does the United States have to do that? The right the United States have, the right is called the one that we enforce. And that if the United States wants to put something there and protect the Straits of Hormuz and make a little money off of it, fine. Fine. I'm sure the people of Persia, of Iran, after it is retaken by their own people, would be happy to do that. The same with the mineral rights requests from those in Somaliland currently in their civil war. So in that instance, I do want to address a couple of the comments in the chat. Also, the questions coming in, some of the super chats. You guys do not have to give us super chats here to watch. This is not something that we ask for. You don't have to do that. But I do want to give thanks to, for example, Saintly Beginnings, a $5 super chat, saying, I wonder if the Pakistan attack on the Taliban was organized to keep them busy, as the Taliban has aligned with the IRGC. I do not know. that is a side of diplomacy that I don't really have a lot of connections in any way, shape, or form in that region. I have contacts, as I'm sure you've heard me allude to now and again, to certain military contracting groups in the Middle East that I'm going to stop kind of going into detail about there before I get myself into trouble. But none of them in Pakistan. None of them that I've heard so far. I mean, time of opportunity here, maybe. We'll see. It appears that the tide has shifted kind of on the international side of things, that the Trump administration, all of this, oh, you're going to start World War III. China and Russia are going to do the thing. Oh, they're going to hurt us. The entire BRICS alliance is going to swing in and stop this from happening. That's what's been claimed by a lot of those precious hyper-isolationists. Nope. Now, I do know China earlier this morning Eastern time released a statement, mid-afternoon for them, in which they called for all powers, everyone to de-escalate, which, quoth the Raven, LOL. The Chinese had, yes, we do have this, from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson. This would be at just before 10 a.m. this morning. Quote, China calls for an immediate stop of the military actions, no further escalations of the tense situation, resumption of dialogue and negotiation, and efforts to uphold peace and stability in the Middle East. Wow, the country that was going to send ballistic hypersonic missiles that worked about as well as any other product from Temu says we want everyone to calm down and have done nothing else? Hey, China, where are those boats you were sending to the Straits of Hormuz? Where are they? Where are they? Oh, they're not doing anything. For the Russians, by the way, the answer is also radio silence with a slight tut-tutting. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Russia has posted, even earlier than China this morning, a little lightning bolt update emoji. On February 28th, and I'm quoting this directly, the U.S. and Israel have embarked on a perilous course, carried out airstrikes on the territory of Iran. And then here they're going to get out the adjectives and the nouns. You ready? It's a deliberate, premeditated, unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign and independent UN member state. I'm going to repeat that last sentence. I want you to remember the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the Russian Federation is saying this. It's a deliberate, premeditated, and unprovoked act of armed aggression against the sovereign and independent UN member state. They're attacking a sovereign, independent UN country. Goodness, Vladimir, I am of shock. As you may remember, there are other sovereign, independent, member UN states that the Russians may have had something to do with. Again, I have no great love for what I consider to be a rather corrupt Eastern European nation. But if we're going to pretend that the Russians have any leg to stand on at all, regarding this, I'm just enjoying this. I really am. I'm getting a real kick. A really, really, really big kick over individuals making history just began yesterday style statements. Okay, some other updates on the information. Let's talk about the timeline, shall we? Again, to those who are just joining us right now, we have absolutely some in the comments. That's a false equivalent. That's not the same. Okay. I'm sorry. I agree from Russia. It's a false equivalent. That they would, get out there and claim the U.S. is very, very, very bad and whatever. But I'm sorry. I do get a kick out of people who try to give Russia moral value to talk about anything, or China for that instance. And that doesn't mean anything about one's love or hate for Ukraine. I get a kick of the pearl clutching that takes place. First of all, again, to those who are just joining us, to make it clear, right now, there are statements from Israeli media that are claiming that Khamenei, whose compound currently looks like a Walmart parking lot in February, just a disaster area. All right, Khamenei's compound is it's rather rough looking. All right, they're claiming he's dead, and also the recently promoted to president of Iran, also dead. That's what they're claiming, at least. Now, he, again, was just promoted after the last president of Iran was killed during the 12-day Israeli-Iran war last year. But there's no confirmation from that from international media sources, from the United States media. Iran is claiming that Khamenei is still alive, kicking, and good to go. There were some rumors that he was alive but injured a little while ago. Haven't seen anything further on that. Again, the foreign minister did come out this morning and, made some announcements that he's totally fine. Like he's still kicking. Everything is okay. We're going to play that clip to NBC this morning. A little desperation in his voice, but again, here's the Iranian counter that everything's fine.
Actually, I appreciate your comments there, and we do have a series of other questions I want to ask you. But just for clarity for our audience right now, can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know, yes, they are alive. And the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well, all high-ranking officials are alive, and the Secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Again, you get out there and you just answer the question directly, okay. But if you then have to say everyone is alive, my brother, his cow is also fine. And then, of course, my local post office man and the guy at the Wendy's drive-thru, all are fine. Everyone is alive. We're all good here. It's Han Solo. What happened up here? Oh, we're fine. We had a slight weapons malfunction. Everything is fine here. How are you? And then they did the reactor thing. Oh my gosh. In episode 4, Star Wars, the original, they then said, we're sending a squad up. And then Han says, oh no, we have a reactor leak, a slight reactor. Give us a minute to lock it down. The Iranians have now asked the UN to intervene because they say, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to convene because that agency, which they left, they're complaining now that the United States violated UN rules about striking reactors and, nuclear information and material. Oh, life imitates art. It's interesting for sure. There was a comment asking me about a statement from Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. He also has released a statement. I'm going to read it to you here now. Again, just making sure that we read all of the various statements from individuals involved. Quote, my brothers and sisters, this was posted in Hebrew, by the way, it's a translation. My brothers and sisters, citizens of Israel, just an hour ago, Israel and the United States embarked on an operation to remove the existential threat proposed by the terrorist regime in Iran. I thank our great friend, President Donald Trump, for his historic leadership. Here's that phrase again. For 47 years, the Ayatollah's regime has chanted, quote, death to Israel, quote, death to America, end quote. It has spilled our blood, murdered many Americans, and massacred its own people. This murderous terrorist regime must not be allowed to arm itself with nuclear weapons that would enable it to threaten all of humanity. Our joint operation will create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their fate into their own hands. I'm actually curious to see what... Producer Daniel, could you do me a favor? In his original tweet, which is in Hebrew, the word for Iranian that he posts in Hebrew, would you send that to me? Like the actual Hebrew word there? I'm just curious which word he used for Iranian. People to take their fate into their own hands. He says, the time has come for all parts of the Iranian people, the Persians, Kurds, Azeris, Baloch, and Avazis, to cast off the yoke of tyranny and bring freedom and peace-loving values to Iran. If you could also send me the Hebrew words that he uses for the different ethnicities there. Again, I'm just curious. He says, I call on you, citizens of Israel, to heed the instructions on the Home Front Command. In the coming days, during Operations Lion's Roar, that's a reference to the Lion of Persia, we will all be called upon to show patience and strength of spirit. Together we stand, together we will fight, and together we will ensure the eternity, and again, he's talking to the people of Israel. So, again, there are a lot of criticisms that he made this statement. He's the Prime Minister of Israel. He's going to address Israel. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, a Prime Minister or a president getting up and addressing their own people first and foremost, that's not much of a shock to me. Oh, thank you very much, Producer Daniel. Very much appreciated. That's more for me, by the way. I wanted to see. Okay. He used he didn't use the firmly Iranian national moniker Hebrew term there. He used a cultural term. That's very, very interesting. Now, according to some of the naval maps that we have is kind of sketchy, but I'll report it. Take this one with a slight grain of salt, if you don't mind. The Revolutionary Guard Corps has technically closed the Straits of Hormuz, specifically near the bend tip near Sohar. But I'm not entirely sure if it's possible to suggest that they have a firm hold on that particular region. An Iranian Shahed 136 kamikaze drone. We have additional footage of the drone striking the building in Bahrain. We're not sure if this is also the warehouse that was struck, or if this is a civilian building that they aimed at. I'm keeping an eye on a couple of different reports. By the way, we're going to take a few of the mail time questions real quick here that you guys are sending in. I do want to make sure that we give you some of the information here. From Eric M. He says, there are reports that there are American casualties. Is that true? I have no confirmed reports in front of me, either from my contacts personally, nor international media agencies that have any kind of respect. I have no information that there have been any American citizen or American military casualties as of yet. I have no reports of that. Could there be? There could. Are there any reports that we have so far? No. The only casualty reports that we have so far is that 4 United Arab Emirates citizens in Dubai, when the Palm Hotel was struck, again, by a just thrown out, ill-aimed Iranian missile. It struck the front lobby. 4 are injured. Those 4 injuries are the only casualties that I have a direct report of in front of me that have been confirmed so far. So again, I know there are other strikes that are happening. There is an empty warehouse reported by the United States that was struck in Doha, Qatar. Or no, excuse me, I keep doing that. In Bahrain, where the 5th Fleet is. There have been some strikes in Doha, Qatar that have landed. I do not have any information as of yet. The Jordanian army is reporting 49 drones and missiles were intercepted today by the Jordanian military, most likely at the support of the United States. There are some other reports suggesting that at least one person in the UAE, a citizen, was killed by falling debris. So as far as casualties so far, again, I'm sure the number will increase. But it looks as though it is 1 dead and 4 who have been injured. Now, the United States and Israel are beginning, as evening falls, another round of strikes targeting missile launch sites and air defense systems in central Iran. Certain sirens are going off. Certain tracking systems that we have are lighting up, as they say. And we are keeping an eye right now on everything that we can. So far, reported killed in the strikes: Mohammed Pakpour, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps commander. This is cited by Israeli officials and Reuters. So Reuters is now reporting that Mohammed Pakpour, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC commander, has been eliminated. Iran's defense minister, Amir Nasirzadeh, has also been reported as eliminated, not just by Reuters, but I believe by several international outlets. Now, Ali Shamkhani, the senior advisor to Khamenei and described as a key security figure, is listed in several reports as eliminated. There is not yet an official piece of military information yet to confirm that. We are getting additional information about strikes on an apartment building in Bahrain. According to the National, the individual in the UAE who was killed by the falling debris. I'm going to make sure the stream is down, apparently. I'm going to double check this real quick. Give me just a second, folks. We seem to be fine. Sorry, we appear to have had a slight stream stutter. There we go. All right, we do have some footage of the Iranian strike on the Bahrain apartment building. We're getting information on that for you here, but we do have the footage of this. Viewer discretion advised, please. We'll play that a little slower here. I'm going to zoom in if you guys don't mind. I know my face might be taken up just a little bit here. That's the top of the clip. Okay, one more. God in heaven. These indiscriminate strikes by Iran. Indiscriminate strikes which are now targeting various civilian structure. Well, not targeting, are ending up hitting various targets. That's horrible. We don't know how many are killed. Hopefully, those who are in Bahrain, in Qatar, in the UAE, in Israel, in Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, I hope that they are leaving larger. I do hope that they are leaving larger residential structures. Terrible. We'll get you a report on those particular casualties, which one would have to assume in this particular instance. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Tony Kinnett Cast. We are trying to bring you all of the information that we can. We do have additional photos now coming in from U.S. naval troops stationed in Bahrain. It does appear it was an empty warehouse confirmed that was struck, and that the Iranians tried to fire and did not fire effectively. Just as a first matter here, Iran does become the first country to strike Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, Bahrain, and Qatar in a single day. Now, again, we do have several reports of the Saudis joining sorties with the United States and Israel right now. These reports have not been verified or confirmed. I repeat, these reports have not been verified or confirmed. And I'm going to be a little bit picky on some of the things that we do issue out here on our live broadcast so far on the Tony Kinnett Cast. So far, the Iranian's IRGC-linked Tasnim News Network has reported officially that Tehran has begun steps to shut the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. There's no way this ends in anything other than the United States Navy and Air Force removing the rest of the Iranian Navy. This will be the third time in a row that the Iranian Navy has been promoted to the bottom of the ocean. We're getting confirmation that is the Jufair area of Bahrain, the Juffair, for pronunciation, sorry, the Jufair area of Bahrain, that apartment building was struck by an Iranian suicide drone. So far, there is still no additional information from Iran suggesting that Khamenei, who was supposed to address the nation 2 hours and 8 minutes ago, no information on whether he plans to address the nation at all. There was supposed to be a video that was released from Khamenei an hour ago. That hasn't been released. I'm not seeing any additional updates from any of my points suggesting that the Iranian president, again, having only been in office under a year now, after the last one was promoted to hell, I believe, or Khamenei are alive or dead. The Bahrain Interior Ministry has now reported that multiple residential buildings in the capital were struck. That's really not going to go over very well with Saudi and with Qatar. The IAF, the Israeli Air Force, has confirmed a strike on Iran's 116th Mechanized Infantry Brigade in the Qazvin province, Iran. This is one of the brigades that was expected, or at least, was previously reported to have shot and run over, in some of those horrifying videos, the protesters in Iran. Strikes are currently underway against ballistic missile facilities in Zanjan in northwestern Iran. We'll get you that clip here in just a couple of minutes. again, give us a second. Sorry, I know we're slowing down in some of our particular coverage. We're going to be careful as well as we can to make sure that we are getting some of the information. We'll address a couple of comments and questions here while my team uploads a couple of clips here. So first and foremost, from Dave Spielberg, he says, one comment, one question. Is Khamenei hummus or grits? That's funny. No, I guess we'll certainly find out. From Cisco asks, are they actually bombing their own stuff? Not via attempt. It appears to be a kind of a flailing maneuver. So far, the strikes from Iran that have been launches have essentially been trying to throw everything out at everyone they can, just throwing missiles out in a 360 pattern, just out as an attempt, just to hit anyone that they can in hopes that they'll actually hit something. So far, it doesn't appear to be successful on any military targets. Did the United States, as according to Hollow, did America attack with planes, missiles, or drones? Yes, that I can confirm. The United States has quite a fleet of drones over the area at present. Also, several sorties currently being flown, and then missiles all the way, JDAMs, Tomahawks, are currently finding their way to Iranian targets. Now, this is interesting. The first Middle Eastern country to come out and condemn the United States, the Oman foreign minister, this is according to The Hill, the foreign minister for Oman has expressed dismay, expressed dismay at the United States striking Iran, says, quote, "This is not your war," end quote. That's really special, Foreign Minister of Oman. We'll go ahead and file that away, right in the very, very, very super duper important information section. We do have the clip now of the strikes against the missile sites in Zanjan in northwestern Iran. So this is a ballistic missile site reportedly that is being struck. The fireworks that follow. Wow. As evening falls. Oh, Kitty Be Good says Morocco has said something too. Oh boy. Oh no, not the seller of spices and rugs. Oh man. What has Morocco said? Who said Morocco? Kitty Be Good. All right, Kitty, let's see. What has Morocco said? The Kingdom of Morocco condemns in the strongest terms Morocco has condemned Iran. Wow. The Muslim countries not standing with Iran at all. Russia not standing with Iran either. Russia says everyone calm down. China says everyone calm down. So Iran is totally alone except Oman. This is tantamount to Mexico condemning the Soviet Union once in like 1936, and everyone just said, I don't know. It's interesting stuff here. Morocco condemns in strongest terms the abject Iranian missile attack that violated the integrity and security of brotherly Arab states. So I'll say this. This is something that's rather interesting here. Iran's major mistake, Iran's latest major mistake appears to be that they've just thrown a bunch of suicide drones and ballistic missiles, such as they have, that aren't even launching properly. They are simply throwing everything they can at any place they believe to be a target that will cause condemnation, essentially casualties that will be blamed on the United States and Israel. And it's not working, because if you can't aim the missile, guess what? You shouldn't have the missile. And this appears to be the take of Bahrain, whose citizens are being killed. And yeah, hitting a Pakistani national is definitely going to upset Pakistan, who's already striking Afghanistan and Kabul and the Taliban there. It's going to be an interesting couple of hours. I don't see any way forward that the Iranians are able to mount any kind of offensive whatsoever. Any kind of offensive whatsoever. So far, essentially the entire Israeli Air Force flying 200 plane sorties. And the largest air raid ever appears to be focused primarily in northwestern Iran. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. It appears the United States is taking care of the rest. You know, the F-22s, I'm sure. The F-22s, I'm sure, are hungry for a little bit of breakfast. Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting statements regarding Operation Epic Fury. President Trump, Rubio, closely monitoring the situation in Mar-a-Lago, I believe. The Mar-a-Lago Situation Room is really, really getting a lot of attention. I am starting to wonder at what point the Iranian ballistic missile program just runs out. Now, Al Jazeera reported, again, at 10:01 a.m., Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, will speak within minutes. Iran's Al-Alam TV reported. It is currently 12:16 p.m. Eastern Time. And, no word from Khamenei. There is currently video emerging, this is Fox News reporting, from inside Iran showing a massive column of smoke rising above a transit station in central Tehran. We will go ahead and put that particular clip up here. Pretty incredible stuff to see some of these strikes. Large fires, large drone strikes that are being reported. A lot of interceptions from the surrounding countries of Iran. Iran has nothing to counter or intercept anything at all. Anything at all. There we go. Here's the transit station in Tehran. Again, you see a lot of people that are just outside watching it take place because this is not an attack on the Iranian people. It's an attack on the regime. And it's pretty incredible to observe. Now, again, as a reminder here, quote, the Iranian regime has announced that they have closed the Strait of Hormuz. You can only close what you have the force to shut. You only can close what you have the force to shut. So at this point, we're still waiting on confirmation for the dust to settle as to whether or not Khamenei is alive or dead. As a friend of mine, Jerry Dunleavy, points out, he's a chief investigative correspondent over at Just the News. He says, Iran's really not helping shed the terrorist regime label by launching drones and missiles at random civilian airports, apartments, and hotels in neighboring countries. Very accurate and well put. Again, all of this, Iran is supreme and powerful, and they're going to be defended and wonderful, and all this is going to be incredible. Nope, they're not in a position to start World War III. They're not in a position to start this. I'm seeing quite a bit. I'm seeing quite a bit suggesting that there's going to be some major incredible action. Iran does not have a huge, boisterous military to do very much outside of trying to keep their own civilians repressed. They don't. They don't have a major land army to swoop into Iraq. And right now, we are receiving more reports, although again, they are not yet confirmed, that Saudi Arabia is preparing several squadrons to engage in co-sorties alongside the United States. I think we will probably need to see a direct strike make landfall in Saudi Arabia and cause an effective level of damage for that to occur. But they do have sorties in the air, we do know, on patrol flights. Now, there's a lot of allegations and reports, I should say, of GPS jamming and electronic warfare going on over the Strait of Hormuz. I doubt. I very, very much doubt that right now there are a series of flights being rerouted or directed based on GPS jamming, for example, something of that nature. I don't think so. For example, the United States air refueling tanker craft are not reliant on GPS, the civilian positioning system satellites. That's not a thing. That's very much not a thing. More missiles are reportedly spotted over Beirut. go ahead and air that particular clip as, again, evening, darkness starts to fall. Things are going to get a little bit warmer. John Fetterman has also released a statement kind of in discordance with a lot of his Democrat colleagues. Tomahawk missiles seen flying through Tehran. Wow. Boy, that's fast. Again, Bahrain missiles spotted over the small nation. Now, whether or not those actually do strike intended targets, so far the only target that has been struck in Bahrain appears to be an empty warehouse. Nothing in the U.S. Fifth Fleet has endured any damage so far whatsoever. All right. We have some other condemnation and outrage, things like this. A possible attempt to strike Burj Khalifa in Dubai in the UAE. Iranian suicide drones attempting to get really, really close. If they're already down to suicide drones, like the ballistic missiles are starting to fade and we're starting to see them kind of pull out the cheap drones and fly them, we're starting to get down to the bottom of the barrel already. Airspace just across the entire Middle East is just completely shut down. So far, we do have reports that have been confirmed so far, attempting to strike U.S. and allied bases in the Gulf, including King Fahd and Prince Sultan in Saudi Arabia, Al Udeid in Qatar, the naval support activity in Bahrain, Muwafaq Salti in Jordan. Explosions have been reported in Amman and Abu Dhabi. Kuwait airport damaged. And in the UAE, there has been one confirmed fatality. Again, so far, only one confirmed fatality outside of Iran. Inside Iran, lots of fatalities confirmed. So far, it appears the largest fatality group in Iran, I should say casualty group, because we don't actually know based on the Iranian state media trying to propagandize reporting here. They say a school was struck, but it's not anywhere near where the United States or the United States, Israel, or its partners have been making strikes in Iran. This particular school that was struck appears to be near a ballistic missile site from Iran, meaning they launched a missile, the secondary rockets failed, and the missile struck their own people, which is a very Iranian thing to do, if you recall some of the situations regarding the Israeli-Gaza wars. Iranians around the world seen celebrating in various countries. Iranian TV is now reporting, after promising a speech by Khamenei for hours, mind you, Iranian TV is now saying that no statement from Khamenei is coming. I repeat, because that is kind of the theme of this particular broadcast right now. I want to repeat. Khamenei, who was, as the supreme leader of Iran, who has been promised to come forth and give a live address. And then they said, okay, there's not going to be any live address because 10 a.m. came and passed Eastern time. They said around 11 a.m., okay, well, there's no live appearance coming, but instead we're going to release a video. He's going to release a video telling everyone what's up. That has now not happened. So now Iranian state TV is now reporting no statement at all. No statement from Iran is incoming. None. So if Al-Khamenei has no plans to release a statement of any kind and sort, does the Iranian regime have any contact with Al-Khamenei, is the question. The answer is we don't know. The answer is we do not know. As a reminder, one of the last statements on February 17th from Al-Khamenei, quote, if that's the case, he says, so anyway, he said, the Americans say, let's negotiate over your nuclear energy, good one. And the result of the negotiation is supposed to be that you do not have this energy. Well, yeah, because the Americans have the force to back that up. So he says, if that's the case, there's no room for negotiation. But if negotiations are truly to take place, determining the outcome of the negotiations in advance is a wrong and foolish act. Okay, so the idea that Al-Khamenei went out there and said negotiations are over, the foreign ministry would go into talks with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and then come out and say, oh yeah, sure, we had a lot of progress. I mean, we said no, but a lot of progress. No, I'm just not seeing it, guys. I'm not seeing any of the ideas so far that suggests that the Iranians were trying to continue negotiations. They said no, and they found out. We have some updated information on confirmed airstrikes and explosions in Iran from the Institute for the Study of War and the nations surrounding Iran to its west and south that it has struck indiscriminately in an attempt feasibly to hit the United States. The core strikes appear to have targeted southern Iran near the Strait of Hormuz, which is probably where you're going to see a bit of footage emerge in the next hour or two, as Iran claiming it's closing the Strait of Hormuz is like claiming Khamenei is alive. Sources do trust me. As far as Iran is concerned, though, the northwestern portion, specifically the Tabriz, Kermanshah, Avaz areas of Iran, and then moving a little bit east into Tehran, and then south of that to Qom and Esfahan, have just been hit with all kinds of explosions, footage of airstrikes. Not a single missile or drone strike. I'm going to repeat. Not a single missile or drone strike from the Allied powers has been intercepted by Iran at all. Not a single one. So far, as of yet, as of right now, 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time, there is not a single casualty that has been reported so far from the United States or Israel in a military capacity. The only confirmed outside of Iran casualty that we have so far appears to be a Pakistani national. I love the reports that I love the reports that the Iranians are suggesting they are going to close the Straits of Hormuz. With what? They have no power to do so. Absolutely no power to do so. Now, I do have one clip. If we can't give you Khamenei live, we can't go to Khamenei live. I mean, we were told he was going to go live. Okay, no. Then we were told, all right, well, we're going to get, we're going to get a video. He's going to record a video or he's going to upload it to prove that he's alive. We don't have that. Instead, what I'm going to give you is from February 17th. February 17th, a couple of days ago, Khamenei announcing that he's going to sink the U.S. aircraft carriers. He's going to get out there and he is going to sink the Gerald Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln. That is the claim that Khamenei made. Very boisterously, very excitedly. As of right now, the man's nowhere. The man is nowhere at all. Iranians, according to multiple videos, by the way, there's no jamming of the internet going on in Iran right now. We have several confirmed Starlink uplinks that are currently active in Iran across all provinces. I want to repeat that. I can confirm that there are active Starlink handshakes, pings back and forth between individuals in various provinces. There's no internet blackout effectuated in Iran right now. There's not. That ability has been very, very, very crippled. The statement from Ayatollah Khamenei, that being in front of the Iranian parliament and state media on February 17th, where he said, we're going to sink the U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers. He said, it seems to them that, he keeps saying it, he's referring to Trump, the U.S. president says that the U.S. military is the strongest military in the world. First of all, you're damn right it's the strongest military in the world. Anyway, said sometimes it might choke so hard that it can't even swallow. I love it. And then you have all of the Iranians in their parliament who are, again, putting down their goats for a second to all chant and cheer, yay, we're strong and brave. It's amazing. By the way, this building is rubble right now. This building they're in, it's rubble. It is landscaping gravel. So he's quoting Trump, said, we sent an aircraft carrier towards Iran. He goes, all right. It's like he's always joking. He's laughing. An aircraft carrier, of course, is a dangerous weapon. But even more dangerous then an aircraft carrier is the weapon that can drag it to the depths of the sea. And again, they all chant and they're like, oh, Al-Khamenei, you're so great. Take my goat. Take my 9-year-old daughter. Yeah, they're chanting. Hey, guess what hasn't happened? Guess what hasn't happened? Hey. Neither of the U.S. aircraft carriers in the region have been sunk. In fact, none of the military installations of the United States, except an empty warehouse so far, has been struck. Your own missiles are blowing up before they exit primary flight range. Before they even get 5,000 feet in the air, they are blowing up and falling apart. You're bad at this. Where are the sunken aircraft carriers? Where are they? Show them to me, oh wise Ayatollah. Please do share or show your face, either one. One of his most recent speeches, he said that for 47 years, there's that number again, the United States has not been able to eliminate the Islamic Republic. He complained to his own people. He says 47 years again. The U.S. has not been able to eliminate the Islamic Republic. This is a good confession. He says, I say you won't be able to do it now either. And everyone cheers. And we never saw Al-Khamenei again. We haven't yet. We were told we were going to get a speech from him over 2.5 hours ago. Didn't happen. We were going to get a video from him an hour and a half ago. Didn't happen. Now Iranian state media is saying, oh, he's indisposed. Oh, what is it that the prophet Elijah said to the prophets of Baal? What is he in the bathroom? Is he resting? Maybe you should pray harder to him. I'm enjoying this. I really am. I'm enjoying this because all of these empty threats that you were told, again, the Tucker Carlsons of the world told you should take this threat seriously. They could sink a U.S. aircraft carrier. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Consistently, the United States shows that it is a dominant power, and when you actually have leadership that uses that power effectively, breaking news, it's effective. So I'm very much enjoying a lot of the hyper-isolationist nonsense that claims that, oh, we're all going to be brought to the mercy of China and Russia and Brazil who are going to sweep in to save Iran. Where are they? Where are they? I mean, I'm looking for it. I am. So in this particular instance, I agree. One of the comments says, I'd say he's more like a paper tiger, but he's kind of more like a rodent. Good question from one of the comments about what percentage of Iran would you consider fanatics who would support him? Tony, what's your guess? Percentage-wise, according to what we know, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, is struggling with a significant portion of the population that they are struggling to repress. So given that, I would say probably a little over half, given, again, some of the information that we have from the internal documents of the regime. I don't know. I'm not claiming to know. What we do know right now is that the videos that are coming out of Iran are people celebrating and cheering, not a bunch of people crying in the streets and burning American flags. You only see that in Gaza. So like here in Iran, the people of Persia do not appear to be overly thrilled. Now, again, while we can move forward, gee wow, Iran Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghi, who, just a couple of hours ago, the Iranian foreign minister said this as a quick reminder.
Actually, I appreciate your comments there, and we do have a series of other questions I want to ask you, but just for clarity for our audience right now, can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know, yes, they are alive. And the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well, all high-ranking officials are alive.
Okay. As of right now, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghi says he cannot confirm whether the country's top leadership is alive or reveal their location. LOL. LOL. I do enjoy that. By the way, one of the comments saying, hey, if you're playing a video, can you have it take up the full screen and you know, make it kind of easier for those of us who might be viewing it on our phones? The answer is kind of. Free use laws make it rather clear that for the most of the time that I'm playing footage, I have to be on screen providing commentary as well. Otherwise, I have to call NBC and ask them pretty please permission to use the clips. So that's why I do that. I'm not trying to make it, you know, inconvenient for those of you out there. So this all said, some are saying this is a confirmation that Khamenei is dead. I don't think so. I'd like to be patient and then confirm it when we know for a fact, but that's certainly not good. We've now moved from he's alive and well and everyone's fine and well to, okay, he's alive and well, just him, and we're going to go to him at 10 a.m. He's going to address the country. And then that didn't happen. Okay, well, we're going to release a video recorded from him on VHS, in which I said, I hope they bring out some AI version of him and that he starts, you know, through an AI glitch, starting to sing, you know, Whopper, Whopper, Junior Whopper in the middle of his address to the Iranian people. That didn't happen. And now the Iranian foreign ministry is saying, we can't confirm whether he's alive or dead or where they are. Now, there is a report that, at least as far as Iranian retaliation is concerned, that an Iranian ballistic missile impacted near Mawafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. It is now confirmed that they did not strike any U.S. military equipment or kill anyone in Jordan. It hit sand. A little bit of clay to go with the sand, but mostly sand. Make sure we have another couple of updates here. Senator Tammy Duckworth, whose part-time occupation is being retarded, says, quote, Donald Trump cannot stop breaking his promises to the American people by illegally striking Iran. Illegally. No, not illegal. Trump has made a choice, one he did not have to make, that puts American lives and national security at risk while threatening to draw us into yet another expensive taxpayer-funded forever war without congressional approval. Evidence. Show me the evidence. Where are the boots on the ground? Where are the infantry divisions being mobilized? Where are they? Explain to me where the APCs, where the honey badgers are being put on planes and shipped overseas to occupy Iran. Show me where they are. Where are the vehicles being made? Where are the additional manufacturing requirements sent into northern Indiana to start making Humvees as quickly as possible? Where? For weeks, the United States has been mobilizing an air campaign. That's it, Jen. That's all. And I'm sorry, Tammy Duckworth, if you're going to speak and be stupid, at least speak quietly. Or in the privacy of your own home, so you don't embarrass yourself in front of all of us. She says, quote, he owes it to the American people. He promised he would always put first to immediately come before Congress and attempt to justify how this illegal war will serve their interests. What are you talking about? What in the world? He owes it to say that he would promise that he'd come before and that also and then you would.
This guy stinks.
Tammy Duckworth is so retarded. In the meantime, the Senate must immediately vote on Senator Kane's War Powers Resolution Act to block this illegal military campaign. Okay. All right. That's real great, pal. Super duper. Good luck to you. A very fine good luck to you. And then we have from Tim Kaine as well. Trump sending our sons and daughters to war. And then he says, because he still can't accept that he lost the 2020 election. Okay, that's real special, buddy. Thanks for sharing. I love it when people who don't know what they're talking about get out on social media, who have, again, most of them never having left the United States, never having done anything useful whatsoever, have no idea what they're talking about. They're saying that the United States, which Trump has made very clear in statements, in military buildup, in policy, in internal memos, in external reports and briefings, that the United States is going to support an air campaign over Iran and encourage the Iranian people with sufficient IRGC targets being struck to take back their country. And again, make Persia Persian again. Nowhere in that is the Nikki Haley kind of elbow-licking, faux diplomatic, faux compassionate, George W. Bushian, well, within the hearts of everyone yearns for freedom. Like, yearn for freedom. No, we can just say, all right, take it. This is your last chance. Your one chance in a generation. Again, these were the words of the President of the United States, specifically and explicitly.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond.
All right. Again, the President of the United States making it clear, not a big boots on the ground operation. Again, defensive postures and protecting U.S. troops, that's been going on for weeks. For weeks. I've seen commentators out there on the greater media sphere who have said, why are we focusing on how safe the Americans are going to be right now? And the answer to that question is that we've been doing that the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Have we not been reporting on certain troop movements and again, air defense systems and things moved in? All of the individuals who are commenting on this, who believe that history started yesterday, and that we need to pretend that everyone woke up this morning and everyone was on the same page, no one did anything wrong, and the United States randomly out of nowhere decided to do World War III things. That's nonsense. That's idiocy. Now, I do want to point out one thing. There's a comment that came in that I find worth, I find worth addressing, and it's from an individual named Yan Yonghui. Says, a primary school in Iran was bombed, killing more than 100 people. I like how we're increasing the number of the casualties since the report. By this afternoon, that primary school will have housed 3.5 million people, all of them innocent, pregnant women and children, all of them. Anyway, a primary school in Iran was bombed, killing more than 100 people. Was it done by Israel or the United States? Well, let's take a look at the map. So, Minab in Iran is in a small city near it's in the Hormuz province. And this particular building, by the way, is not near any of the other targets struck by the United States or by Israel. It is not near any active or prior sortie missions that have been reported by any intelligence source or journalistic outlets that are tracking some flight patterns as they can. This particular primary school is, however, located next to an area that Iran openly admits it fired a couple of missiles from, based on the return trajectories you can see, from where they also attempted to fire missiles into specifically the United States bases in Doha and Bahrain. The elementary school that was hit, the primary school, was hit by a misfired Iranian missile that did not engage in its secondary rocket procedure. Initial burst got it off the ground, and then, instead of soaring upwards into the air like other missiles from that exact projected facility in Minab, instead it ended up falling and hitting a school. So I don't know if you really want to claim that's Israel or the United States. May I suggest cope and seethe? So, you know, I have no sympathy for the stupid. I really don't. I have no sympathy for the stupid at all. Again, still no statement from the Iranians. Still no statement from the Iranian regime. They've simply said we're going to do everything we can. They seem to be flailing and just throwing out missiles and drones, whatever they can, any direction they can. Yeah, I'm really not going to suggest that the statements from the Iranian state media are credible, but for what it's worth here, the Iranian state media, citing the Red Crescent, says that 201 people were killed and 747 wounded in U.S. and Israeli airstrikes across 24 provinces. They have no idea what that number is yet. They have no idea, and I'm going to wait to see further and additional evidence in this particular instance. That said, it should also be pointed out that the Iranian government has made another statement that Khamenei is not going to come out and make any kind of statement today. So, to give you a little bit of a recap on that timeline, because that's what we've covered, at 10 a.m. Eastern, or right before 10 a.m. Eastern, you had Goofy Goober, the foreign minister, who went on NBC News and said everything is fine, everyone's alive.
I appreciate your comments there, and we do have a series of other questions I want to ask you. But just for clarity for our audience right now, can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know, yes, they are alive. And the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well, all high-ranking officials are alive. And the Secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Everything is good. So we got that at like 9:30 this morning. And then at 10 a.m., the announcement, Al Khamenei is going to address the nation shortly. Praise Allah. And then he didn't. And so then they announced at 11 a.m. Eastern, okay, he's not going to address the country live, but instead, put your goats together for video, Khamenei. And then that didn't happen either. And then there was a statement about a half an hour ago that said, okay, well, he's not going to address the country right now. We are now getting an additional statement that says, he's not addressing the country today. Things are going real well for the IRGC. Again, just to cite the casualties at hand here, so far, the deaths include, confirmed, I should say, the commander of the IRGC. Additionally, the senior advisor to Al Khamenei is reported to be confirmed dead. I'm guessing the way that they would have assessed that or come to that conclusion is that he was last seen going into the compound that is now rubble. And unless he's learned to swim through fire and wreckage, very unlikely that he's fine. And then additionally, one of their primary defense ministers, Reuters is confirming that he has been kaput. Making sure we get some of our newest information yet. The Kuwait Ministry of Health has now reported that 12 people have been injured amid incoming Iranian attacks, but that all cases are under medical control. So far, the casualties that we know of that have been reported, and I can't say confirmed because these are state ministry reports, and I have a policy of not saying the state ministry outlet confirming things. But in the case so far, in the U.S. attack, Operation Raging Fury, or Epic Fury, or whatever we're calling it. It's pretty cool stuff. The U.S. operation so far, alongside Israel, there have been between 16 and 17 total casualties. 16 and 17 total casualties. The Kuwait Ministry of Health is reporting that 12 of its people were injured, but are all under medical control. So those are still casualties, but they're not fatalities. And then in Doha, Qatar, 4 casualties, 1 dead, believed to be a Pakistani national who died due to falling debris. So that appears to be the information that we have so far. The Iranians reporting a lot of casualties. Again, they're trying to push this school narrative as hard as they can. The military installation that is near the school that fired off several missiles, this backed up by a couple of reports, including Reuters. I'm just not seeing any information that suggests that it was. I mean, it very clearly was an Iranian missile that just didn't engage in its secondary rockets. Above Erbil, several exo-atmospheric interceptions of the Iranian ballistic missiles. Now, as we get into the evening, now major airstrikes being reported in Iran's port city of Khabakar. That's going to be fun. I've seen several reports regarding the Iranian port dock kind of naval installation at Khabakar. That's going to be interesting to see, the idea that the Iranians are still claiming that they have closed the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, there are vessels that are turning away. There is an Indian vessel, for example, that has been turned away from the Strait of Hormuz, but that's likely to avoid when things get a little fireworks explosive-y here in, just a little bit. All right, we are going to, given the unlikely, I would say it's probably unlikely at this point that the United States or major media outlets are able to confirm Khamenei's death, at least in, the next couple of minutes here. Checking additional sources, again, in real time, because I'm trying to be very picky. I'm not just trying to, talk for, forever. Oh, the IDF is announcing pre-planned targets. An IDF spokesman in Arabic just announced urgent warning to those present at the industrial complex C in Isfahan. Defense forces will begin attacking military infrastructure in the area in the coming minutes. Dear Iranian citizens, you must stay away from the complex. So it's definitely going to be an interesting couple of hours. I think with that, we're probably going to end our coverage for right now, given that right now we do not know whether Khamenei is alive or dead. Israeli sources are now reporting with high confidence. This is the executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies reporting that Israeli sources are relaying high confidence that Khamenei is no longer breathing. I'm just a little hesitant here. I would rather tell you guys that I don't quite know yet when we sign off for our coverage now, and then come back in a couple of hours when it is confirmed he is dead and give you some end-of-day closing updates. My team needs to rest and eat a little bit here. We'll likely be back later today. If you've appreciated the coverage, if you like it at all, I would say, hey, consider liking and subscribing. We appreciate you very much stopping by for a little bit. We'll be back later. And I hope that all of y'all have a good and safe afternoon. If you do consider a moment, of course, pray for those in the Middle East. Pray for the U.S. troops in the region. Pray for our allies. Pray especially for the people of Iran, and that God grant them safety as they hopefully rise up against this regime. I am looking at the particular pictures of the Khamenei home. We'll get that up probably today's later broadcast, because I am seeing now there is, with Iran backpedaling as quickly as possible, very, very good chance that unless Khamenei is going to be communicating to Iran via a Ouija board, he's probably not around anymore. Or the president guy who also claims to have some very important power. An Iran drone has also reportedly hit the Burj Khalifa, largest tower in the world over in Dubai. A super chat. We'll end on this, I think. A Darth Bobcat super chat. Very kind of you. $5 super chat said, I noticed that Trump does these things on the weekend to give stock markets a chance to digest the info instead of panicking. I haven't heard that take before, but I mean, it's not wrong. I don't think you're wrong there, my friend. So any other mail time before we're done? I'll address a few of these. From Donald Mower, No statement from leaders in Iran. No doubt there's a way to distribute such a message. Why would we allow comms anywhere in that country? It's not as easy as you'd think to do a complete blackout shutdown of all communications. It's something that we can do in a localized area, and there are a lot of cyber attacks, which cyber attacks themselves are not my specialty in understanding. But at least in this instance, it's a little bit harder. They likely have a couple of ways that they're trying very hard to maintain communication. One question from channel member Irma Clay's 24 question. Tony, now the point of no return. Should Americans be concerned about the Islamist cells within the United States? I'm not going to suggest anything yet on that. I would say, obviously, head on a swivel, be vigilant always. If you see something, say something. That will always be. I don't care if we are in a time of wonderful, amazing peace or there are concerns around. Be alert. If you see something, say something. And I would recommend that you concealed carry, and you do so responsibly. That is my best advice that I give at all times. All times. Especially if you go to a church or a synagogue, you make sure that your church, synagogue, has a security team and that it is active and it doesn't have its head up its own rectum. Pay attention, be vigilant, head on a swivel. When we get confirmation as to whether or not Khamenei, which knowing my luck is going to be about 5 seconds after we're off the air, if and when we get that confirmation, we will be back on the air right here with it. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. God bless America, and take care.